good, y'all? Kid Jerome here. I'm reviewing a different album from 1001 albums you must hear before you die every single day, and the 10th one is Bob Dylan's live recording of his 1966 The Royal Albert Hall concert. It counts. This is an extensively bootlegged performance by Nobel Prize winner and legendary Minnesota folk musician Bob Dylan. What's especially notable about this album is it's divided into two discs, and they couldn't be more different from each other. The first disc features Bob Dylan by himself with his guitar and his harmonica, no drums even, and the second disc features his entire electric backing band. Now, this was very controversial for Bob Dylan at the time, and you can hear evidence of this on the album. There's people booing at the end of some of the songs. On the second half, you can hear people get up and leave as soon as they start to plug in and tune up. And it's very interesting that people cared so much about this back then, because the Bob Dylan that I was introduced to was him and his full band. I never knew anything different at first. I just thought Bob Dylan made some folk songs, then Bob Dylan made some rock songs, and everything's cool. But to folk purists at the time, this was a very frowned upon change. They felt like this took him some steps away from his more traditional folk lyricism, from his more traditional folk stylings, put a layer of separation between him and his heroes like Woody Guthrie. With the gift of hindsight and the gift of being completely removed from the situation, I can appreciate both aspects of the album fully. I can appreciate the folk half for what it is, and I can appreciate the rock half for what it is, and it's easy for me to separate it, but this serves as an important musical inflection point. This serves as sort of a time where rock music wasn't accepted by everyone, where it was a little bit risky, and people like Bob Dylan really had to walk so other people like Van Halen could run. There was a lot of norm breaking, there was a lot of experimentation, and there was a lot of interesting stuff happening. You can definitely hear in the second half of the album, it felt like they were playing with a chip on their shoulder, like they had something to prove. So the first thing that you'll notice is Bob Dylan's vocals. If you've never heard Bob Dylan before, first off, what? Second off, it's a little bit of an acquired taste. Sometimes on this album, it sounds less like Bob Dylan and more like Bob Dylan doing a Bob Dylan impression. It's very nasally. It's very gruff. He has a very short register. He very rarely strays outside of his octave. He can't hit high notes. But despite all of that, he has a perfect storytelling. The lyrics are always at least audible. The words are always discernible. The story is always clear. The progression is always concise. Bob Dylan really knows how to tell a story. It's no surprise that he was able to win the Nobel Prize of Literature. It's partially due to the fact that he never shows off, that he never tries to impress with his vocal performance, that he's able to tell such intricate and well laid out stories. I feel like if he was singing like on American Idol during some of these songs, it just wouldn't hit the same as it does when he's just telling you matter-of-factly things that are happening, things that he's seen, things he's experienced. I feel like this is a much more powerful vocal expression than if he was a better singer. Bob Dylan's harmonica is the main character of every song it's on. The harmonica solos are just so cool and powerful. There's all these slides, and when he hits an elongated note, it feels like a guitar soloist hitting a pitch bend. It's really exciting stuff. I felt myself getting very hyped whenever the harmonica would start playing. Some especially powerful harmonica moments for me were the extended harmonica solo on Tambourine Man and the harmonica intro on Fourth Time Around. It hits immediately and it hits hard. His guitar playing is notoriously simple and almost entirely chords. Some of the first songs that guitar players learn are Bob Dylan songs just because they're so easy to play and they give you so much room for expression. There's so much emotion in every chord he plays, the way he plays them. He's always on time. He is the perfect backup musician for his own voice. And while his guitar is never really doing anything too impressive, while he's not going crazy on the fretboard at really any point, it's perfect. It's the perfect complement to what he's trying to do with his music. He had a goal and he accomplished it. The crowd cheers after every single song on the first half, and that energy immediately shifts when he starts plugging in his instrument for the second half. You hear feedback first and footsteps second as people start to walk out of the venue. You hear muttering. No one's excited. No one's clapping. No one's cheering on the electric instruments on stage. They're sort of waiting to see what's going to happen next. You can really feel the anticipation. And as soon as they launch into Tell Me Mama, I'm convinced. It took like maybe 3 chords for me. I'm sure the crowd can't relate. I'm sure there was more skepticism on their end, especially considering the era. But I was absolutely floored with how fast they hit, how hard they hit, how well the band worked together. Bob Dylan's backing band consisted of a harmonica, of course, Bob, 2 electric guitars, one of them being Bob, an organ, a piano, a bass guitar, backing vocals from the bass guitarist, and a set of drums. So it's a much wider texture. There's a lot more happening. I really appreciated what he was able to do with this electronic band. He has much more room for dynamic variance. There's a lot more quiet moments, a lot more loud moments, and they're much more noticeable when they do go by. There is a lot more room for emotional expression. But there's also a lot more expectations that come with electric instruments. They sort of encourage you to fall into very specific musical styles. There's blues, there's classic rock, and I feel like at times Bob Dylan was definitely falling in line. I feel like he was less so doing his Bob Dylan thing and more so being Bob Dylan playing a blues song. And I think he did that very well. I think there were some very strong blues moments on this album. I thought Leopard-Skin Pillbox Hat was a fantastic example of what he was able to do with more classic, more learned musical structures. Dylan's vocals are noticeably different on the second half. They feel more connected to the music rather than being supported by it, if that makes sense. He's a lot more confident, a lot more cocky, a little bit rebellious. Like I said about the band, it feels like he was really trying to prove something to the crowd. He was trying to prove that Bob Dylan electric would work. He had a lot riding on this performance, and he just sent it. I really appreciated the high energy on the second half of the album. There were a lot of very exciting moments. On Tell Me Mama, we have this extremely steady backbeat. We have this bluesy guitar solo. Dylan is doing his absolute best on vocals. Baby Let Me Follow You Down, we have a very powerful and heavy beat supporting the instrumentals, strong, loud drums, and this really speedy, bluesy guitar solo. They're all over the fretboard with this one. On Leopard-Skin Pillbox Hat, it's more of a classic electric blues song. We have chugging drums, feels like a train going by. I've really appreciated the energetic variance on the second half of the album. I really appreciated all the different feelings they were able to make me feel. I kind of just felt like moving the entire time. I'm sure the energy in the room must have been insane. Noticeably, at the very end of the album, Bob Dylan says, "Thank you." Everyone starts unplugging, and there is not even an attempt at an encore. The crowd is sort of still muttering to themselves at this point, trying to figure out what just happened, and they slowly start to file out. I think that this is so fascinating. For a crowd to hear a performance like this and be unsure is blowing my mind. I would have been jumping up and down with excitement. I would have been blown away if I had seen Bob Dylan put this kind of show on in person. All in all, Bob Dylan's live 1966 The Royal Albert Hall concert serves as an important inflection point in musical history. It serves as an explicit and observable moment. I can't think of any other albums like this, any other albums that served as sort of a guide stone in musical evolution, and I'm not sure I'll ever hear one like this again. I feel like this album is truly unique in what it is. I feel like it's a moment in time that should absolutely be cherished and observed, and I really appreciate it. Some standout tracks for me were Mr. Tambourine Man, Tell Me Mama, and Ballad of a Thin Man. I would recommend this album to beginning guitarists to intermediate guitarists, singer-songwriters, and anyone that's not extremely familiar with Bob Dylan. I know that most of us have heard of him, but for those that haven't listened to him, now is your chance. I would rate this album an 8 out of 10.
Wow!
Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about the album in the comments below. You can click the link in the description to follow my journey. If you appreciate what I had to say, please leave a like. It really helps me out. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's video. Until next time, never stop listening. Peace.